15 kilometers off the coast of Japan, an entire concrete city sits abandoned in the ocean. Apartment towers, schools, hospitals, all crumbling on a rock you could walk across in minutes. At its peak, over 5,000 people were packed onto this island, making it the most densely populated place on Earth. Then, in just 90 days, every single one of them vanished. Hashima started as a bare, wind-lashed rock in the East China Sea, known to locals as Edge Island, a warning etched in its very name. In 1810, a Saga feudal lord uncovered coal veins beneath its surface, setting off a wave of ambition that would reshape the island forever. For decades, Hashima remained a remote outcrop, but everything changed when Mitsubishi took control in 1890. Their engineers faced a daunting question: how to anchor a city where storms could wipe away progress overnight. Concrete became their answer. Mitsubishi's planners ringed the island with a seawall 10 meters high, nearly 3 meters thick at its strongest points, casting each section in place to form an unbroken shell. This wall did not just hold back the sea, it claimed over 6.3 hectares from the ocean, using waste rock from the mine to backfill and raise the land. The island's footprint grew, carved into terraces ready for the vertical city to come. Inside this concrete fortress, Japan's first major reinforced concrete high-rise, Building Number 30, rose in 1916. 7 stories of thick slabs and sheer walls were built to withstand typhoons that would flatten ordinary structures. Each new block pressed tightly against the next, every meter of space calculated and claimed. The city climbed skyward, its silhouette hardening into a man-made battleship, isolated and defiant. Coal drove the transformation, but concrete made it possible. The island's new shell turned a barren reef into land that could bear the weight of a city, setting the stage for the dense, vertical world that would soon fill every corner of this fortress at sea. Hashima's population once reached 5,259, squeezed onto a concrete island barely the size of a few city blocks. The density, over 83,000 people per square kilometer, surpassed even the most crowded corners of Tokyo or Manhattan. Space was measured in tatami mats, and most families lived in 6 tatami units, just 10 square meters, where walls offered little more than a suggestion of privacy. Entire floors shared toilets. The only escape from the crush was the rooftop, where children darted between laundry lines and the sea's wind, and parents tried to catch a breath of open air. Despite the crush, Hashima functioned as a complete city. Schools ran in shifts, sending children in waves through narrow corridors. The junior high alone packed 800 students into classrooms that seemed to hang over the ocean. Shops, a hospital, a cinema, even a department store, each found its place in the maze. A tiny Shinto shrine stood wedged between apartment blocks. Every surface was claimed, every corner pressed into use. On the rooftop, battered planters held vegetables, a rare patch of green in a world of grey. At night, the island grew even smaller. The hum of generators, the cries of infants, the shuffle of returning miners, all sounds traveled through concrete walls. When typhoons struck, windows shook and salt crept in. Boats stopped coming. The city became a sealed world, suspended above black water, its people hemmed in by strangers and stone. Still, daily life pressed on, with meals in communal kitchens, children racing up stairwells, parents returning home, coal dust clinging to their skin. Beneath Hashima's concrete towers, miners dropped nearly 1,000 meters into tunnels carved under the sea. Down here, the walls sweated, the air pressed in, and temperatures often climbed past 30 degrees Celsius. Methane pooled in unseen pockets, making every shift a risk. The forced air systems strained to keep the tunnels breathable, but a single spark could turn the mine into a tomb. Official records list 137 deaths from explosions and cave-ins, but survivors and hidden ledgers hint at a much higher toll, lost in the darkness below. During the war, the need for coal pulled in hundreds of conscripted Korean and Chinese laborers. They worked the longest hours, 12 or more hours at a stretch, on the most dangerous jobs. Testimonies from men like Soo Jung-woo describe a world where hope faded fast, where promised wages rarely appeared, and where escape was just a rumor. Food was rationed, injuries ignored, and the only exit was the shaft, if you made it that far. Above ground, the company's grip tightened. Curfews locked everyone inside after dusk. Leaving the island required written permission, even for funerals. When typhoons hit, the city became a sealed
cell, the roar of the ocean echoing through narrow corridors, salt air eating away at steel and spirit. For children, the horizon was always out of reach. For miners, each day meant facing the underworld, knowing a single mistake could doom 100 men. The pressure, physical and mental, built year by year, straining Hashima to its breaking point as the ground itself threatened to swallow the city whole.
In the early 1970s, the world beyond Hashima shifted. Oil surged ahead as Japan's new energy lifeblood, and the coal that once made this island indispensable began to rot in the eyes of those who controlled its fate. Mitsubishi's boardroom, far from the sweat and salt of the island, became the true engine room of destiny. Spreadsheets replaced shovels. Production reports showed coal output dropping year after year. What had once fueled steelworks and powered a city now looked like a liability. On a cold January day in 1974, the decision came down like a verdict. The mine would close. No debate, no appeal. The shutdown was official. Hashima, once the crown jewel of Mitsubishi's industrial empire, was now an obsolete outpost, its concrete towers and crowded homes suddenly worthless. The news swept through the island like a winter gale. For thousands who had only known life hemmed in by seawalls and blackened by coal dust, the future vanished overnight. What happens to a city when its only reason to exist is erased by a single boardroom decree? The answer would arrive with stunning speed, leaving behind nothing but silence and the echo of footsteps on empty stairwells. Suitcases scraped across concrete floors as word spread. Everyone had to leave. Notices were tacked to stairwell doors, names checked off priority lists, and the first families boarded the waiting ferries with little more than what they could carry. For decades, Hashima had been a city that never slept. Every corridor echoing with footsteps, every rooftop alive with voices. Now the same passageways filled with hurried goodbyes and the rattle of keys left behind. The evacuation was not a gentle fade, but a forced exodus, compressed into just 3 months. School children left their books stacked on desks. Shopkeepers abandoned shelves still lined with canned goods and faded magazines. Even the hospital's beds, once crowded with miners nursing injuries, stood empty overnight. Cargo ships took what they could: refrigerators, radios, a few precious keepsakes, but most possessions were simply abandoned. The final ferry pulled away on April 20th, 1974, leaving behind a hollow city.
Within hours, the power was cut. Lights that had shone through typhoons and blackout drills flickered out for the last time. The hum of machinery stopped. What once was the world's most crowded island became silent, its concrete walls holding only the memory of thousands who vanished almost at once. The sea reclaimed the soundscape, and Hashima's empty stairwells waited for the first signs of decay.
Salt wind gnaws at the concrete year after year. Without the warmth of lights or the echo of voices, Hashima's towers rot from within. Typhoons slam against the seawall, peeling away slabs, exposing rusted rebar that weeps orange down the facades. Where children once grew vegetables in battered rooftop planters, Wild vines now snake through shattered windows and claw at abandoned stairwells. Nature is patient. Roots pry apart walls that once defied the ocean, while seabirds nest in the skeletons of apartments where families once huddled against the storm. But Hashima's decay has only made it more alive in the imagination of the world. In 2015, UNESCO declared Hashima a World Heritage Site, forcing a global reckoning with both its industrial triumphs and its darkest chapters. In the digital age, explorers arrive by drone and camera, not ferry. Viral videos race across the internet, capturing the city's haunted geometry from above, a labyrinth of collapsed corridors and sunken courtyards, frozen in the moment of abandonment. The ruins have become a stage for stories, a villain's lair in Skyfall, a backdrop for countless documentaries, a magnet for urban explorers chasing the thrill of forbidden places. Each year, typhoons rip away more of the island's shell, but every new scar is mapped, filmed, and shared, feeding an endless fascination. Hashima's concrete may crumble, but its myth only grows. An empty city that refuses to disappear, echoing across screens and memories long after the last footsteps faded. Today, Hashima's empty towers still defy the waves, concrete echoes of how ambition can outpace humanity. As rising seas threaten coastal cities worldwide, the line between progress and oblivion grows ever thinner. The ocean always waits. What we abandon, it eventually claims. Share your thoughts below.